everyone, in this video you'll learn how to easily calculate correlation coefficient in Microsoft Excel. So we'll be calculating the Pearson's correlation coefficient and we'll create this correlation matrix and also interpret the result. And then we'll go ahead to calculate the Spearman's rank correlation coefficient and also create a scatter plot. Calculating this coefficient will help us determine the strength and direction of the relationship between the variables that we have in our data set. So we'll start first with Pearson's correlation coefficient. So right here I have a data set. This data set is gotten from W3 resource. It's a health data that was extracted from a sports watch. So we have duration, we have average pulse, max pulse, calorie burnage, etc. So the first thing to do, if we want to calculate Pearson's correlation coefficient, we can use a function, an Excel function called CORREL. So I'm going to type equal to and then type the CORREL function. So I'm going to type that. So the CORREL function takes two arguments, the first array and the second array. So right now we want to check for the relationship between duration and average pulse. So I'm going to select this as my first array. I'll use my shortcut key, which is Ctrl plus Shift plus my down arrow key to select the entire range of data. Then I'm also going to add the $sign to make it an absolute reference because I don't want these formulas to break. So I'm going to put a comma and select the average pulse column for the second array. I'm going to use the shortcut key as well and also add the $sign. After which I'm going to close the bracket and then press enter. Once I press enter, you can see that this is the correlation. This is the correlation coefficient between duration and average pulse. Another formula we can use is the Pearson formula. So if I type equal to and then click on type the Pearson formula, it also has two arguments, the first array and the second one. So I'm just going to select the first array and then I'll go ahead and select the second array as well, which is our second argument. So I'm going to select that, close the bracket and press enter. Once I press enter, you can see that both CORREL function and the Pearson function has returned the same correlation coefficient. But looking at our data set, we have multiple variables that we need to find the relationships, and doing this manually is going to be very time consuming. So what we need to use is our data analysis tool pack. So I'll go ahead and just delete this too. Once I delete that, if you don't have the analysis tool pack, just come over to the top part of your Excel and click on this icon, customize quick access toolbar, then scroll down to where you have more commands, and under more commands you select add-ins. So once you select add-ins, come over to where you have manage and make sure that you've selected Excel add-ins, then you select go. Once you select go, this dialog box is going to show, so make sure you select the analysis tool pack and then you select OK. Once you select OK, click on your data tab and your data analysis tool pack will be displayed under your data tab. So right now I'm going to click on this data analysis tool pack and I'm going to select correlation because that is what we want to find. After selecting correlation, I'll select OK. So my input range is going to be this entire range of data. So I'm going to select input range and then come over to start from cell A1. I use my shortcut keys to select this entire data. And my data is grouped in columns because I have my headers by the column. Then you also have to tick if your labels are in the first row or not. So my labels are actually in the first row and my output range where I want this correlation coefficient to show. So I'm just going to shift this and select here as my output range. That is where I want the results to show. Then I'm going to select OK. After selecting this, you can see that we have a correlation coefficient right now. So what I will need to do is I'll just come to my home tab and then click to format. I just want to increase the row height. So I'm going to type 30 and press OK. And then I'll just come back to that format and come over to where I have my column width because I want to increase the column width a little. I'm going to increase it to 14 and that is okay. So this is our correlation coefficient. Then I'm also going to select the entire values and then come over to the number group and click down, scroll down to select more number formats. Then I'll select number because we want to change the decimal places to 2. After which I'm going to select OK. After selecting OK, I'll just come over to my alignment group and then just center it. I just want it to be centered. That's how I want it to show. So basically, this is our correlation matrix. So before we go further, let's interpret this result. So correlation coefficient ranges between -1 to 1. We can actually have values up to -1, which is a negative correlation. If we have up to +1, that is a positive correlation. And if you have 0, that means there is no correlation at all. So the relationship between a value and itself is going to be a perfect relationship. So you can see the relationship between duration and duration, average pulse and average pulse, all of them have perfect relationship. That is why you see 1 all over this particular place. But if you now look at the relationship between duration and average pulse, we can see that this relationship is a negative relationship. In fact, it is a weak negative relationship because it is -0.23. Looking through this matrix, we can see that duration and calorie burnage have a strong positive relationship with a value of 0.89 because 0.89 is closer to 1. So the relationship is a strong one. And we also have another relationship which is actually strong too, which is the max pulse and the average pulse, which have a value of 0.76. So this is just to show you the strength and direction of this particular relationship. So also remember that correlation is basically a number that will closely measure how data are related. It just does not conclude that one variable is the cause of another. After interpreting this result, we want to add conditional formatting to these particular values. We want to add colors to these values so it is easier for people to differentiate. I'm going to select this entire range of data. After selecting it, we'll come over to where we have conditional formatting and we'll go to our color scales. Then I'll scroll down to select more rules. Under more rules, I'm going to select the 3 color scales. So I'm going to select here and select the 3 color scale. For the 3 color scale, I'll select this first one. So this first color, we're going to select this. Then for the second color, we're going to select this other color. Then for the third one, we can select this color. So let's see, that should be okay. So this is what we have as our correlation matrix. Then still selected on that matrix, I'm going to change the font color of these values to white. So after that, we're going to transpose some of these values. That's just like a little trick such that your correlation matrix will come out very well. So you see, we have, of course, we have both rows and columns for the different variables. So right here, I'm going to select from average pulse down until hour sleep. Then I'll copy it. Once I copy it, I'll come over to the first row here, the first row which is for duration, and select that entire range of data. Since we are going to use pest special, I'll right click on that particular cell that I have selected and click on transpose. So after clicking on transpose, you can see that we've actually copied and pasted this data here, but we've transposed it. Right now, you just see that average pulse here and duration, this is the correlation coefficient between them. Max pulse here and duration, this is the correlation coefficient between them. So I can just do the same thing for the other ones. So I'll quickly copy, I'll select these 4 cells, I'll right click and then click on transpose. Then I'll do the same thing for here, from calorie burnage to hour sleep. I'll copy it and select these 3 cells. Then I'm going to right click and transpose the data. Then I'm going to copy this. Then I'll come here and select these 2 cells, right click and transpose to paste it. Then I'm going to copy this last one, which is hour sleep. I'll copy it and just come over here to paste this particular data. So after pasting this data, this is what we have. So I'm just going to select this and remove the borders that is showing there. So basically, this is what our correlation matrix looked like. We can also format this upper part, this particular row. So I'm just going to select major and center, and then we'll type correlation matrix. This should be all for now. So this is our correlation matrix. This is how we've been able to calculate Pearson's correlation coefficients for multiple variables all at once. So the next one we're going to calculate is the Spearman rank correlation coefficient. So I'll come over to the Spearman rank correlation coefficient. So right on this particular data set, we have names of students and we have the scores for the internal exams and the external exams that they've written. So we want to see the relation, if there's any relationship between the scores, the internal exam scores and the external exam scores. So what we are going to do is we are going to use Spearman correlation. So Spearman's correlation is basically between ranked variables. So the first thing we are going to do here is for us to rank this variable, and we're not going to calculate it manually. We are going to use an Excel function to get this done. So we'll just create another column here, internal exams rank. Let's just leave it like that. And the next one is going to be external rank. So we want to just rank the scores of this. So for the internal rank, so we're going to use an Excel function called rank.average function. So I'm going to type equal to rank, then select it. So the first argument, which is the number, I'm going to select B2. Then the second argument, which is ref, I'm going to select from B2 to up to B10. Then also make it an absolute reference by adding the $sign. Then the order we want it is in ascending order. So I'm going to type 1 and then close the bracket. After closing the bracket, I'm going to press enter and then drag this down, or you just double click. Your fill handle is going to fill the rank for you. So you see that it has ranked all of the scores in ascending order. For the external ranking, we'll also use the same formula here. So for this formula, the number we're going to use, the first argument, which is the number, I'll select C2, and for the ref, I'm going to select from C2 to C10, also add the $sign. And we also want it to show in ascending order. So I'm going to type 1, close the bracket, and then drag, just use my fill handle and fill that down. This has been ranked from 1 to 9. So the student that has the highest score, the student rank is rank number 9 because that's the highest rank. So after calculating the rank, the next thing we'll do is to now find the correlation coefficient for these particular ranks. So we're going to find the correlation coefficients right now, and we're going to use the CORREL function. So I'm going to type the CORREL function. Then my first array is going to be the first rank, the internal exams rank. I'm going to also add the $sign to that. Then the second array is going to be the external exams rank. I'll also add $sign and then close the bracket and press enter. So once I press enter, you can see the correlation coefficient of the internal exam score and the external exam scores of this student, and the coefficient is 0.78. That is a positive relationship between the internal exams and the external exams rank. So we're going to create a scatter plot now to see the direction of this relationship in order to explain it better. Right now, I'm going to select the internal and external exams rank. I'm going to select them and click on Insert tab. Then under Insert tab, I'll scroll to where I have Chart and select the Scatter chart. So this is our scatter chart now. Let's format this scatter chart. I'll click on this plus sign and add the axis title. This axis title, this is going to be for our internal exams because this is our X value. So I'll type internal exams. Then for this particular axis title, we're going to name it external exams. So after naming this axis, I'm going to click back on this chart and select this. After selecting that, I'll just go over to where I have the trend line and select the trend line. If you want to see the R square, just come over to here and select, then scroll down to select more options. Under more options, this format trend line pane is going to show. I'll scroll down to where I have display R squared value on chart. So I'm going to select this and the R squared value will be shown here. I can readjust this R squared value so I will be able to see the value. So this is the R squared value. Remember, the correlation coefficient is R. If you square this R value, this is the answer it's going to give you. So this is our scatter chart showing us the relationship between internal exams and external exams. So we can also remove the grid lines here, and after removing the grid lines, you can decide to change this color if you want. So you can just choose any of these colors to give it another color palette. So this is how you can easily calculate correlation coefficients in Microsoft Excel. Thank you so much guys for watching this video. If you have any question, please do well to drop it in the comment section. Thank you.